Can I expose some information, and you just tell me if you have the same information?
Okay.
The whole plot in the Ukraine Gate was started with the CIA came with a lot of money, and they used Facebook and Twitter to manipulate young people and convince them to try to start a revolution. They also convinced civilian people to go on the street, and at this point they dare to talk to ask Putin to convince Yanukovych not to use the army to stop the movement. The idea was the deal was to avoid the bloodbath. And Putin said, okay, I'll do that because I don't want any bloodbath. While he succeeded in convincing Yanukovych, the Occidental side did the opposite of what they promised to Putin, and the Ukrainian pro-Occidental side used sniper to shoot in the back in their own riot, and they blame Yanukovych for this. And this is a pro-Russian gangster has been replaced by a pro-Occidental gangster who was a Trojan horse for Goldman Sachs, basically, and the catastrophic consequences for the Ukraine economy. Do you have the same information?
Oh, yeah, of course. And you know what you're talking about, there were groups called the Azov Battalion, which is openly honoring their mentor, Stefan Bandera, who headed the Ukrainian SS during the Nazi occupation period. The Bandera movement is responsible for more than 100,000 known deaths of Romanians, of Hungarians, Russians, Jews, and others. It may be as many as 800,000, according to some of the figures. And the Azov Battalion, which is now, through Padabui and several other people, inserted in Ukraine's security forces. Also, the Pravi Sector, the political party of this movement, is a Nazi ideology marching behind swastikas when they go in the street. And the story that we've gotten on this is that they brought in sharpshooters, including from Georgia, former Russian Georgia, to carry out the assassinations in the Maidan Square, where they killed police and they also killed demonstrators. And they blamed it all on the Yanukovych security forces, who had been told by Yanukovych to stand down and not shoot.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good.
And you?
I'm good. I just wanted to catch up with you on what you thought when you were there.
Okay, yes, I returned last night already, so that I was 1 day.
Yeah. Impressions?
Impressions are sad. Second, what was quite disturbing, the same Olga told that, well, all the evidence shows that people who were killed by snipers from both sides, among policemen and people from the streets, that they were the same snipers killing people from both sides.
Well, that's.
So that, and then she also showed me some photos. She said that as medical doctor, she can, say that it is the same handwriting, the same type of bullets, and it's really disturbing that now the new coalition, that they don't want to investigate what exactly happened, so that there is now stronger and stronger understanding that behind snipers, it was not Yanukovych, but it was somebody from the new coalition.
« 18 février 2014, via Institutskaya à Kiev. Notez la voiture Honda immatriculée AA4774CO. C'est dans ce véhicule Honda que sera retrouvé le fusil à lunettes doté d'un silencieux. Et nous en reparlerons plus tard. Nous voyons ici un jeune homme avec un casque blanc. Il reste à proximité de cette Honda. On dirait presque qu'il n'est pas intéressé par ce qui se passe dans la rue. Notez bien cette fermeture éclair sur le blouson de l'homme au casque blanc. C'est la même que celle sur la manche du conducteur de la Honda. En fait, c'est la même veste que celle de l'homme au casque blanc. Et voilà le casque blanc sur le siège passager. Le conducteur de la Honda immatriculé AA4774CO va bientôt être obligé de montrer ses papiers, mais aussi le contenu de son coffre. C'est là que les manifestants vont trouver le fusil à lunettes doté d'un silencieux. C'est bien la même Honda avec la même immatriculation gouvernementale. Vous pouvez contrôler par vous-même. Les manifestants bloquent la voiture où ce fusil a été trouvé. Regardons ce qui se passe maintenant. Le fusil est caché des regards indiscrets par le député et leader de l'opposition Sergueï Pachinsky. Avouez que son apparition à l'improviste, à côté de cette voiture transportant le fusil, est un brin étrange, n'est-ce pas? Remarquez aussi cet homme à la veste noire et l'écharpe jaune. Il se trouve sur la droite de la Honda et observe attentivement ce qui se passe. L'homme à l'écharpe jaune discute avec Pachinsky, qui lui donne des ordres. On le revoit ensuite au volant de la Honda. Le fusil à lunettes est toujours dans le coffre. L'homme avec le masque va aller récupérer ses papiers auprès des manifestants. Il est clair qu'il veut dissimuler son identité, car l'air dans la voiture, aussi bien qu'à l'extérieur, est parfaitement respirable. Pourquoi la voiture contenant le fusil et l'homme masqué s'en vont-ils ensemble? Évidemment, Sergueï Pachinsky et d'autres personnes impliquées dans cette histoire ont quelque chose à cacher. De toute façon, les noms des protagonistes de cet épisode de la Révolution sont aujourd'hui bien connus. Et maintenant que cette vidéo est sortie, ils doivent la vérité au peuple ukrainien. L'homme à l'écharpe jaune s'appelle Yuri Sobolta. Il travaille au ministère de l'Intérieur et est un proche du ministre de l'Intérieur Arsen Avakov. Lors de la fête consacrée aux troupes propres au ministère de l'Intérieur, Arsen Avakov a récompensé Yuri Sobolta avec un pistolet Ford 1705 personnalisé. Cela s'est produit 30 jours après la nomination d'Avakov au poste de ministre de l'Intérieur. Qui sait pour quelle raison Yuri Sobolta a été récompensé avec ce pistolet personnalisé? On ne sait pas ce qui est devenu le fusil à lunettes doté du silencieux. On ne sait pas non plus combien d'armes ont été ainsi distribuées pendant le Maïdan. Mais on comprend mieux maintenant pourquoi il n'y a eu aucune véritable enquête sur les homicides dits des sangs du ciel et pourquoi les personnes qui ont usurpé le pouvoir en Ukraine n'ont pas obtenu de résultats suite aux enquêtes sur ces crimes horribles ni sur l'homme qui est parti avec ce fusil à lunettes. Et la raison est que tous ceux qui se trouvaient dans la voiture étaient liés à Turkinov, Avakov et Sergueï Pachinsky. Ces gens ont tout fait pour dissimuler cette affaire et cacher les personnes qui se trouvaient dans la voiture.
And we cannot forget to point that inside of this, you got the reluctant behavior of the Biden family with the blackmailing of the Ukraine Department of Justice investigating on the back kicks. Can you develop this? Because it can be interesting for the audience too.
Gotten a commitment from Poroshenko, they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
Well, it just so happens that the general prosecutor was investigating an energy firm in which Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was heavily invested. Burisma Holdings is an energy corporation in Ukraine, and Hunter Biden, the son of the former vice president, has made a rather handsome profit from it, especially in the aftermath of the 2014 events in Ukraine in which pro-EU forces took power. All it took was a phone call from Papa Joe, and that prosecutor was out.
We had plans that included interrogations and other crime investigation procedures into all members of the executive board, including Hunter Biden.
Well, here's the key point about Biden. You know, I know everybody's worked up on the Hunter Biden, his son, getting money from an oligarch to work for Burisma, the oil company. And that's pretty, you know, when you have the vice president of a country that you're dependent on send his son in to get almost $70,000 a month to sit on the board of a company that he knows nothing about their business, that's corrupt. But much worse, what was Biden's actual role? He was the Obama administration's point man in Ukraine. He made, by his own admission, 12 or 13 trips to Ukraine. He met with these neo-Nazis. He met with Yatsenyuk and the demonstrators. He worked with Victoria Nuland, who was in the State Department, the neocon who was running this from the U.S. side, and Jeffrey Pyatt, the U.S. ambassador, who you may remember someone caught a cell phone call between Nuland and Pyatt, where Nuland said, Yats is our man. He's the one who has to be brought in, not Klitschko, the boxer. And when they were joking about the EU might not like it, Pyatt said, fuck the EU. And
so that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, you know, fuck the EU.
No, exactly.
You know, it was Nuland, you're talking about Nuland, right?
Yeah, Nuland and the U.S. ambassador, Jeffrey Pyatt, had this conversation. Now, why was that not a big story? Why is it not a big story that neo-Nazis were brought in to run the security forces that then carried out the assassinations of the pro-Russian people in the Donbass and in Odessa, where 30-something people were incinerated in a building by these neo-Nazis?
Они здание добивали. Двух ребят они забили палками до смерти. Это что, блядь, нормально? Это единая страна, сука? Пожалуйста, ваши СМИ, блядь, называли нас. Их ночью вывозили. Извините, я буду это говорить. Они называли нас террористами, когда нас, сука, правый сектор, пидорасы, загнали на крышу, закидывали и кричали, сука, смерть врагам. Кому смерть врагам? Они кричат «Единая Украина». Я ебал в рот такую единую Украину. Этот весь ултрас.
Расскажи, как здание разбивали. А где остальные?
Хронология. Они пришли. Там дети погибли, женщины погибали, старики погибали. Извините, они несчастных добивали, в голову убивали, добивали, прыгали. ВВшники не могли ничего сделать, они взяли в оцепление ВВ. ВВ только подходило вот так вот щитами. Среди них разрывался цепь, и они прыгали по трупам. Ребята, по трупам прыгали.
А где остальные? Это же не все.
Остальные на 6-м километре, ребята. Надо ехать забирать. Как вас зовут? Меня зовут Ваня. Спасибо.
Ваня, держись.
Я держу.
Ребята, говорите правду. На колени, Господом Богом просим вас. Они передают смысл.
В російських засобах масової інформації Одесу вже навіть називають Бандерівською. От більшого компліменту для Одеси для мене не існує.
So now here's the interesting thing, though, Boris. Trump put some pressure on Ukraine to clean up its act, but at the same time, he's saying to Zelensky, if you talk to Putin, if you start to resolve this, we'll support you. And so the people who are attacking Trump right now don't want peace in Ukraine. And Kolomoisky, who's one of the leading oligarchs in Ukraine, who supported the coup, but then changed his mind and then was the leading funder of Zelensky, said to the New York Times, the people attacking Trump want a war with Russia to the last Ukrainian. So in other words, people in Ukraine are beginning to figure out they're being used.